My name's Jonathan Cox.
My name is Felicia Blevins.
We're in Landgraf of McDowell County, West Virginia, and we decided to grow some food this year. We wanted to learn a little bit more about canning and a little bit more about recipes and take a little bit more control over our health. And one thing that we could definitely do was grow some food, so we gave it a shot this year, and I think we did pretty good. We produced a lot here. We're farming about 2 acres here in Landgraf. We're going to move down this field in this direction, the direction that we planted the field, and this first plot, it goes down 100 feet past this mark, and it goes 30 feet from here to the edge of the road. It was completely planted in beans this year. We did a couple different crops of beans. That way, when one crop was going out, the next crop was coming in. So we did a succession planting. We actually just took out a couple buckets of seed beans today. That's our most important and valuable bean picking that we have gotten all year. We grew most of these beans, and most of them were sold right here at a garden market. We do a garden market right outside the garden every Friday. Those greens, there's a row of mustard greens right here. Let's get a little bit closer so you can see them. These will be some of the first greens of next year and fall greens. We're still getting plenty of greens throughout the garden. There's a 100-foot row of these. So this was an accidental roll. All these were beans, and one of the packs of beans had some of our mustard greens mixed into them. And sometimes we'll get surprise plants, but now that the beans is picked out, the mustard greens really had a chance to come through there, because with this patch of beans, we had 10 rows of beans in this maybe 9-foot area. We would plant the rows 10 inches apart, and then we would put 3 feet in between each mound of beans. There would be 2 sets of beans coming out of a 100-foot mound at 10 inches apart, and then 3 feet, and then we would do another mound. And that would allow this entire area to be covered with bean growth, and there really wasn't much weeding. We didn't have to get in here and do a whole lot of maintenance. The beans covered the ground for the most part, so there wasn't a lot of weeds to compete with. And we didn't have many pest problems because we left the weeds, and the pests would prefer to eat the weeds over the bean plants. So we had a really good year when it comes to water and pest control. So hopefully we'll get some of that same environmental factors to help us next year when we're doing our planting here. We have 600 feet of tomato wall. We did cherry tomatoes on the first wall, the 100-foot wall. These were Brandywine tomatoes, and then these were Cherokee Sun and other types of yellow tomatoes. I think it was hillbilly tomatoes. There's still a few tomatoes in here. It's very end of the year, but this is basically our nightshade area. We cardboarded the entire ground area to feed the worms and the mycelium in here. And that kept a lot of the weeds out, it kept pests out, and it kept the ground moist. It fed the worms that we brought in, because when we raise these tomatoes from seed all the way to putting the plug in the ground, and we use a special potting soil that's inoculated with 14 different species of mycorrhizal fungi and 5 different species of beneficial bacteria that help the plant. We did peppers on this side. We have 3 rows of peppers that are 100-foot long on this side. And then over from that, we have 6 rows of corn that was 100-foot long. And this entire plot will be traded out with beans next year. And this plot will be moved forward if we decide to keep these crops. We could actually put peas onto the trellis, that way we wouldn't have to move them, and that would put the nitrogen back into the soil there, and then we could put tomatoes on there the next round. So if we get peas on these trellises early enough in the spring, we'll still be able to use the same trellises for tomatoes next year without moving the stakes to rotate the bed out. It looks like there's a big mess of weeds and things like that in here, which it is true. There is a big mess of weeds, but there's an entire ecological system going on in here, and our pest management is really at a minimum, because we're not taking out all of the plants that the bugs normally come in to eat. Like, we'll get cabbage loopers and we'll get the caterpillars inside of our greens, but we use products like neem oil that help contain like the different types of caterpillars. BT is really good with caterpillars. That's just a soil-borne bacteria, doesn't agree with the caterpillar's guts. So we try to go as organic as possible. We're not certified organic, but we're more organic than anything that I know or could even trust, because I know exactly what went into the ground here because we took care of it. And you know, we're growing this for us first and foremost, but whatever surplus goes out to the community. And part of being healthy is knowing exactly what's in your food as far as taking care of it. We don't do a whole lot. We can't take a lot of claim to the success of what we have grown. You know, we just put it in the ground and make sure it grows. You know, we don't do a lot. We feed it when it needs fed, we water it when it gets thirsty, and that's just about it. That's all we really do to maintain it. Now